It's Kayla and
Lexi!
And today we're going to be presenting
The Heroes!
Woo!
Let's start off with these questions. Why were the men who come to Marjane's house imprisoned in tortures?
The men, Shemak and Moshin, were imprisoned for acting against the Shah through releasing anti-government articles and protesting in the street as revolutionaries. They were officially arrested, though, for being communists.
What effect do their stories have on Marjane?
Marjane is easily influenced, and with that, she believes that if you've been to jail, you are an automatic hero. The longer you've been in jail, the bigger the hero you are. She wanted to be a communist after hearing all of the information the men had told her.
Now let's read our thesis statement. In the memoir Persepolis, Marjane Satrapi uses the political conflicts and young Marjane's exaggerated tone to convey the influence of Iran's revolution on her own beliefs, ultimately portraying the effects on young minds experiencing traumatic events.
Some examples of Marjane's beliefs is persecution under the law. Prison makes you a hero in her eyes, and the longer you've been in jail, the bigger the hero you are.
That's something that she develops this chapter.
Yes. God is the foundation of her beliefs, and throughout the novel, he leads an unbiased opinion and basically acts as a friend. But she wasn't taught about God through her parents. She learned about him in school.
Which is why she originally thought that the Shah was appointed by God, but she ends up changing that opinion too.
Because she was influenced again by her parents. Communism is the correct form of government. That's what she was told by her uncles and her parents. And if you are a communist, that automatically means jail because you are disagreeing with the Shah, who is the ruler.
And since they told her that communism is good, and then communists all seem to go to jail, that's why she believes that going to prison makes you a hero. Okay. Some political conflicts seen in the book are the overthrow of the Shah. Her parents and her would protest in the street, and there was really a split community with different views on whether the Shah was good or not around her. Then there's obviously people who she knows and her family members going to jail from being communists. There's the Islamic regime coming to power where they enforce very traditionalistic ideas on her and her family, and they're way stricter than the Shah, which they were not expecting, obviously, when they were protesting the first time around. Now, there's also the juxtaposition of heroes and non-heroes, which is, for example, like the communists versus the government. And then
that comes back to that whole split community idea, because some people view communists as heroes and some view it as non-heroes, and the same with the Shah. Some examples of her exaggerated tone. Her feeling small. Visually, her body language in the novel gives the idea that she is feeling small due to the fact that she's being wrong, the fact that Lali's father is more of a hero than her own because of the fact that he went to jail because he was a communist, got caught.
Here you can see her. She says, but my dad's a hero. And then this is Marjane feeling very small next to her, even though they're like the same height in reality.
Yes.
So that's a use of, visual, weight, and body language. And then
exaggerated.
Yeah. Other literary devices, there's Marjane's point of view and how that affects the story. And then also graphically, we are messing with non-linear depictions of events. Like how when they were discussing the torture, there's no boxes surrounding them. And this is a very non-linear, there's movement in here. And then also there's how dramatized, and you can see with the contrast and it's just very dramatized drawing how that is depicting Marjane's immature point of view.
Her immaturity, because she thinks that the men who were tortured with a literal clothing iron rather than branding irons or a heated piece of metal, shows that because she is so young, she is hearing these stories and thinking about these men being quite literally pressed with a clothing iron instead of the more logical term of a branding iron or a hot piece of metal.
Which just shows how she's trying to connect these hard to understand concepts with her life, and she's just a little too young and immature to fully grasp it.
Because then later on, she makes a game out of it.
Yes, she learns about torture, and then her response is to the next day at school with her friends. She goes and she makes a game. She's like, hey, let's torture each other. And it just shows that she doesn't understand like the real effect of this, and she's really just taking what her parents are telling her and then just running with it. She just she hears what they're saying, and she really takes it to heart, and she makes a game out of it. She feels like it's very personal to her. That's why she like idolizes jail, just because she hears them talking about it. And she became a communist early in the book because she just didn't understand, and then after her dad talked to her, she went all crazy and started reading all those books and stuff, and then she just became, just because she heard them talking about it.
I can't believe you just said she took the information and ran with it. That was funny. Some of her
the effects of traumatic experiences on page 48. Margie tells Siamak's daughter Layli that when adults say someone is on a trip, because Layli's father was on a trip, he was in prison, but Margie tells her that that really means that her dad is dead. And she believes this because of what story she was told about her grandfather. Margie's knowledge that on a trip is the easy way for adults to explain to children that someone may be in trouble comes to play again in the next chapter, or no, 2 chapters from now in The Sheep, when her uncle Anush goes back to Russia, but she knows that he is not going back to Russia, and it's all coming back around. And she is more aware than her parents give her credit for, because she really has all of this knowledge, even though she doesn't like express it very well because she's very immature and she's too young to fully grasp everything. She is more aware than her parents give her credit for, and she knows that her uncle Anush did not go back to Russia, and that he was in prison and being executed.
The words on a trip are given a deeper meaning and a negative connotation within the book. Margie's immature reaction to the words, like telling Lolly her father was dead, shows that she's too young to grasp what is really going on around her, and that her influence from other voices really carry her as a person throughout.
So that shows her response to traumatic events by overreacting and telling Layli that her father was dead. And then also there was her response to traumatic events being her learning about torture, and then her very immaturely going and making a game out of it. And then also she does in our chapter, there's a theme of learning what justice is. She doesn't learn what justice is until our chapter. In the previous chapter, her mom had taught her about forgiveness because her friend's dad was a torturer under the Shah. And so Margine learns about forgiveness in that last chapter. But then in this chapter, her mom says all torturers should be massacred. And so now Margine is very confused. She doesn't understand, and she thinks her mom is being hypocritical. So she's like, I thought that people should forgive. And then her mom tells her that
some people it's okay, some people it's not. It's all about justice.
Yes, because it can be dangerous to forgive them. So you need to have justice served. And that's where Margine finds comfort in God at the end of our chapter, because he explains to her, not in the book, but in the movie, he explains to her that he is the one who serves the justice.
Yeah.
And that's really just what our chapter does for the book.
In conclusion, that was the heroes wrapped up.
Yeah, and it affects her because she's young and immature.
She doesn't really understand what's going on and wouldn't be anywhere without her parents' influence.
Lots of things.
Or the community's influence. Or God's influence.
Mm-hmm. Traumatic events influence.
Yes. Bye.